And in the wake of Hezbollah's missile attacks against Israel on Sunday night, the question now remains, what's to come? Well, joining us via Skype is investigative journalist Martin Himel. Martin, thank you so much for joining us.
Pleasure.
So how long do you think that this so-called calm will last in the north?
Well, actually, I think it will last quite a while, provided that both sides maintain a certain status quo. If Israel's going to keep bombarding targets in the Beirut region and hit missiles in that area, well, then there'll probably be some sort of response. I don't think Hezbollah is interested in a war. It's fought a 6-7 year war in Syria. It lost a couple of thousand soldiers, which is a lot for them. It doesn't need another war now because Israel would inflict much more damage. Israel doesn't really need a war now because we're heading to elections here. And I think that Netanyahu has won his political point by showing he's tough and would not want more conflict that would disrupt life here.
Let's talk a little bit about the ruse, basically the kind of fake news ploy where 2 IDF soldiers were apparently injured and that was disseminated on the news. What is your take on that ruse?
Well, that's more of a PR thing, I think. Maybe it's even got a bit of a political spin there because I'm sure it's a known tactic. It's been used many, many times. I'm sure Hezbollah is aware of it this way or that way. They don't necessarily believe everything they see there. They're a very sophisticated force. It doesn't really make a huge difference in any form regarding the military implications. Mm-hmm. I really think it's a PR. I think it was serious, and I think they did it. I think the release of it is a PR stunt.
All right, now moving on to the south, Qatar actually just announced that it would cut Gaza's fuel funding by a half to $1.5 million per month. And this is actually just a few months before the end of the term of that agreement anyway. So why do you think Qatar actually did that?
Well, there could be many reasons. Maybe they are not getting the cooperation that they demand from Hamas and other groups there. Maybe they're trying to put a bit of economic pressure. It could also be that they want to get more out of Israel as well. Maybe they want Israel to take certain measures in easing the blockade, because obviously that money is an important instrument in keeping the stability in the region. So it could be used to be leveraged either against Hamas or Israel. Qatar has proven to be very important in basically buying off the quiet for the foreseeable future.
So let's talk a little bit about Hamas and their response to this move. Are we going to see any response? Will Egypt respond to this? Is the UN going to get involved?
I think that Hamas, for now, will keep the quiet. There will always be flare-ups here and there. Hamas has actually got a bigger problem with rival groups in Gaza, some that are linked to Iran, like Islamic Jihad, who obviously have been told to step up pressure, step up military moves in order to help Iran leverage what it needs from the United States and other countries because of the sanctions. I think that Hamas will, as long as it's getting basically what it needs from Qatar and others, will still continue to maintain stability. So the question remains if Qatar is going to keep paying, how much it's going to keep paying, and what it wants in return. I'm sure Egypt is trying to facilitate all that too. It has a keen interest in having quiet in Gaza. It does not want the violence to flare up, and certainly Israel doesn't want it really to flare up with elections just around the corner.
Well, so speaking on Egypt, because you mentioned that they have a dog in the race, so to speak, that they have an interest in keeping Gaza calm. What do you think that their reaction specifically will be? Because I know that they've had a lot of trouble keeping Hamas in line.
They've had trouble keeping Hamas in line, but in the end, they do come in line. The question is, how much will Israel take from them? Because every so often something happens, there's a mortar shell, a missile, etc. Not always because of Hamas, though Israel expects Hamas to rein in the rest of them. Mm-hmm. I think Egypt's big power or big efforts right now is to try to get a consensus within the Palestinian community in Gaza. It does not want Islamic Jihad going off on its own and firing a couple of missiles because Tehran called and said, look, we need a little bit of trouble there because we're trying to deal with the Americans with sanctions. I think that they are pressing Hamas and the other groups for some sort of consensus on stability that's a mutual interest for everybody in Gaza. I think that's where their big role is right now in everything concerning that region.
All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us with your insight.
Thank you.